Hello, I'm going to make this intro brief because I know most of you are coming from some form of a link, so the first part of this video is just me showing off the track, so you can leave after if that's all you came here for. But there will be a showing of it at night along with another surprise towards the end for those of you who stay. Thanks, and please don't enjoy while I play this generic techno. I created this because a few months ago when I first used an elytra, I loved riding along the rivers and through mountains. So, I wonder if anyone else has thought of doing this. Looking up elytra races on Google, it pulls up two kinds of tracks. The one that has rings in the sky that you have to fly through, or the one that is in man-made caves, and they're both set up like this, so you can't leave the track, which makes sense and is good in its own right. But I felt both of these were kind of boring, since one's just in rocky caves while the other one's just surrounded by sky everywhere. Enter a river valley race, and yes, this is the name because I'm too lazy to come up with a better one. Anyways, let's talk about how I made this. First off, I located a long stretch of river to use for my track. Then I used shroom light and tall stacks to mark areas where I had an idea that would serve as reminders later on for what I still needed to work on. During this stage, I just kept going around the track to find inspiration and remove any annoying trees or especially vines. Don't even get me started on these damn vines. It was during this point that I realized this track was going to be harder than coming up with an excuse to not go to my parents' Christmas so I can go on my hinge date to Hulu and Slam. But, looking back at this, man, it really is surreal to see the track before now. For example, here I was going to wrap around the side and in between these two hills. But then, I saw a cave and had an excellent idea to make it a cave you have to fly through. Ow. In comes my best friend during this entire time, TNT. So, after a considerable amount of time, explosives, and cleanup, we finally have a full cave. And I bet my dad couldn't be any prouder. And after a quick call, he said I am no longer welcome to his birthday. As I'm working on this waterfall that'll fall down into the ravine, let me tell you a story. I have actually made one of these tracks already, but the damned game file got corrupted somehow, and now it crashes my game anytime I try to pull it up, making me want to slam my face through a wall. So, in the last one, the lap finished off with flying through a ravine, and I wanted to recreate that here because I loved that idea so much, along with quite a few others that I've carried over in other parts of the track. But we'll get to that later. Now that I have a plan for the ravine, it's time for the tedious task of doubling it in size to connect the track. While I was splitting the earth like a Tiny Tina version of Moses, I found an abandoned mine down in the ravine that I thought would make for a cool setup for a villager town down here. So, I started with setting up the pathways for the town by sprucing them up a bit with a little more sex appeal. Here is where I decided to add some cohesion to the track with arrows so the track was at least somewhat usable. This part I'm a little proud of because, well, I just think it's kind of sick. Then, I looked at the trees and thought, you know what'd be even sicker? Arrows on trees. All I have to say about this part is that the arrows weren't fun to space out, and this was time consuming. So, moving on. Then I made a U-turn sign because, well, this turn is a bitch and a half. Okay, here we go. We're gonna make it. Damn it, so close. So when I was flying around, I noticed there were stretches of nothing planned, so I came up with this brilliant idea to find a straight stretch and make the racers feel like they are going underwater. After blocking out all the water, I had to lower the water on the sides so this is actually possible to get through. Now, coming back to this turn, I decided I wanted to make a big dark building with a tiny hole of light at the end that you would have to go through. This was so extremely tedious that I can't wait to never have to do that again. Next is another idea that got carried over from my last track. The plan is to have the arches go down low to the river to act as a guide for coming out of the cave. Then I just kept rolling with it so I could also use it as a pathway for this U-turn. And I had to make this middle one bigger because going around big things just stimulates my brain more. Back at the Coliseum, I am letting my suppressed rage out on the surrounding trees and finishing the walls. Making my way to the first U-turn by the village again, I am figuring out a way to have the lights move along the arrows. Thankfully, I'm the smartest person I know, even though my friends, family, and doctor all heavily disagree with me, and managed to figure out how to wire it all after a lot, and a lot, and a lot of trial and error. And now,
you're speechless because all the words in your head have been sucked out by the magnetism of my genius.
after cutting a nice pathway through the forest just past the village, I decided to piss more racers off and make the track harder on a certain stretch. This is another old idea that I loved because these bamboo sticks will make you fall if you hit them, so the idea is that you have to bob and weave. I also may have included a difficult but useful shortcut somewhere in this section. Then, after terrorizing the local wildlife with another deforesting for the neon forest, I used another old idea with sugar canes. The point of this is to blind the racers and sugarcane doesn't knock you down like bamboo does. Starting on this neon forest, I knew that it was going to be extremely time consuming, so naturally, I built a general idea of what I wanted by using coral from oceans and trees from different biomes as inspiration for the trees, and then proceeded to do what any sensible person would do and push it off for later me to do because I'll definitely want to do it then. Splash!
Careful, SpongeBob! Careful, SpongeBob! SpongeBob, careful! Careful, SpongeBob! Careful, SpongeBob! Careful, SpongeBob! Careful, SpongeBob!
Patrick, the lid's already off.
Now moving back into the cave, I figured out what I wanted to do. I decided to make it feel like a hellscape once you came through the portal, and go back to normal on the other side once you go through the other portal. I figured the easiest way to do this would be to make each layer different, except for the roof. I eyeballed the hell out of that. And I used crying obsidian because I like the drip effect it has, because you can never have enough drip, am I right? Okay, I'll see myself out. And after the first half of this, I said, F this. I'd rather be taking an exam because this is so tedious. So, I did my usual in preparing for exam and blew it off till a later date and time. Next, I covered the top of the ravine in glass so that racers will be able to better understand that they are supposed to go down. At this point, I decided it was a good idea to get a better plan of the neon forest by lining the path with trees and getting a good understanding of how I'm going to do the ground. Then I had to turn it into night to see how sick this was going to look, and boy was I not let down. Hey, look, I'm finishing the roof, and it sucked, and it's boring to watch, so never say I never did anything for you as we move past this. Look, 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 look! I finished the cave!
Hello?
Hey, Dad, guess what?
What?
I finished my cave in Minecraft! Aren't you proud of your son's accomplishment?
Call this number again and I'm blocking you.
After that terrible disappointment, I realized the splash area comes up quick and wanted a way to notify racers it's coming up with something recognizable to place on the sides. Cue my final old idea from the last track, a valley full of flowers. This takes forever. I mean, I'm talking a few hours to place every single one of these one by one for this long of a stretch. And you might say, mediocre. Why would you subject yourself to that kind of pain again if you've already done it before? And to that I say, you. It's cool and I'm a perfectionist. Sue me. I also only did one side because my original PS4 was sadly struggling and lagging with only one side, so I gladly saved the other half for later. Brain stimulating U-turn tree. Then I finished the neon forest floor. Then I decided to take on the behemoth of a project that was the city in the ravine. Yes, you heard right. I didn't just want to build a village down here. I wanted to build a functioning mini city. So I cut out areas of glass because I wanted this place to be viewable to people flying by, only to be going too fast to see any of it in the final product. The first thing I started working on was the bank, and the longest part of this, along with any of the buildings in the city, is hollowing out the caves to make room for them. At first, I was going to make a house for each villager and have each one have a job, but then I quickly found out they will leave their post during the day, and that was unacceptable, so sorry, buddy. Next was the neighborhood, where I just built some simple houses because, well, space and my very minimal patience. Now, going back to the bank to finish it off with the walls, employees, and chandelier. going back on soil to leave the villagers down there for eternity, I'm creating the starting area with a working gate and countdown, which means I need to summon my inner electrician and make another redstone contraption. Honestly, it's pretty easy to do. It's just a switch and a bunch of repeaters at different intervals, then timing the gate pistons to the same time as the green block, which ends up looking something like this. Now to create another little thing I'm proud of, these mini launchers. The point of these is to launch you up like so when you are jumping on them to make starting flying easier. Which also meant that I had to move the gates and button back, making me have to do the same steps over again, because me, right? So now that that's done and I no longer want to shatter my kneecaps with a crowbar, let's move on to placing these mini launchers at hard points in the track so the bad racers can get back into the race faster. I realized something during that though, and remembered that this track needs to be on survival to work because of the portal going into the cave. So, I made a house with full chests of the necessities along with some beds below just in case. At this point I decided it's about time to finish the neon forest. I finished the neon forest. And that's it. After some time getting the ambiance for night, it was time to do work that is more mindless than being a customer service rep and hollow out rock. And in the middle of all that, I built these funky stairs. My plan with this upper floor is to have the farm along with the farmhouse. The reason it's on the second floor is so I could blow a hole down through the top so the plants could have sunlight. And yes, I know this is Minecraft and that doesn't matter. I don't want to hear it. This is cool. Next comes the walkway up to the soon-to-be farmhouse. And look, it's done! And I totally didn't accidentally TNT the house at some point. Son of a bitch! Just spawning a few farmers in and bada bing, I finished the thing. Now it's time to make a fishing area with all of the water from the waterfalls pouring down into this area. I wanted to give the villagers something to do to escape the endless torment they are in since they now have no way out of this place. So, I made a bar, and a pretty sick one if I do say so myself. There's only one place left for me to get, and it's one I've been pushing off because I know it's going to be a lot of work. And now that I've already done it, man, I was not wrong. First was a very cramped steakhouse with a drippy ceiling, no waitstaff, and a cool kitchen with the best cooks Emeralds could buy. They weren't mocked by Gordon Ramsay on Hell's Kitchen, if that tells you anything. I think I'm gonna call you Guino and you Toby. Welcome to the team, boys. Next is a seafood restaurant across the way, and this one I decided to go testies deep on. Starting with the walls and the ceiling, I picked regular and dark prismarine. I then thought what would be really cool is an aquarium that I would have to move 3 times. I then put 3 barrels in the ground underneath the building to keep villagers drawn in to look like servers. And I usually have 2 in there at all times, so that gets my official seal of good enough. I then get the bright idea to make a redstone doorway into the entrance of the waterfall coming out that hooks around the aquarium, and after a long time and some Advil, this is what I got. Here comes the true final part to this whole track, and the part that I've been procrastinating the most, the other side of the Flower Valley. This was a bitch to do, and I knew it was going in, so I even took a week break just to get the motivation to finish this. Although it did take an eon to finish, I think the end result turned out really nicely. Even though this area might be slightly disorienting now, I even added the word slow and flowers on the side of the hill right where you need to send off your last rocket to be prepared for the splash area. And now, at long last, you guys finally get to see what this track looks like at night. I hope you guys enjoy it. I know I think it looks way better at night. Also, while we're at it, here's a full zoom out of the whole track. Well, thank you guys for sticking with me through this entire journey. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. This took me so long to finish from start to now. Looking back, I started this on June 7th and the day I'm publishing this is on October 22nd. Granted, I also had school and work. And honestly, it's pretty surreal that this is finally done. I put so much love into every piece of this that I'm actually kind of sad to finish it. But all good things must come to an end, as they say, so remember to never subscribe unless you really want to see more mediocre content. Leave a thumbs down to show you care, and leave plenty of nasty comments because you think I care. Also, please follow me on all my social media, which includes Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Reddit, MySpace, and OnlyFans. Okay, bye.